What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. In this video, we're going to be talking about and asking the question, rather, can Brock Boeser have a bounce back season this upcoming year in 2025-26? Obviously, last year did not go as well for Brock Boeser. He was, it was a contract year. He didn't live up to the expectations that he had for the year prior, where he scored 40 goals. So we're going to take a look at an article that talks about the goals and expectations for Brock Boeser for 2025-26, a series that we've been doing over the last few weeks. We're going to continue it as we work towards the start of the season. But before we dive into that, I want to quickly give a shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see there over my shoulder. And you guys can check them out yourselves at GassyJackArt.com. You can also find him on Instagram at Gassy Jack Art. I have a link to his website in the description down below. So let's go ahead and check out this article. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. So this is an article from our friends at Canucks Army. And as I mentioned, this talks about the goals and expectations for Brock Boeser in 2025-26. And it also asks the question, what does a bounce-back season look like for Brock Boeser? This article is written by Jeff Patterson, JPAT, and he goes on to say, the Vancouver Canucks need Brock Boeser to score goals. Lots of goals. Certainly more goals than he scored last season. With his new 7-year, $50 million contract in hand, the Burnsville, Minnesota native is one of several Canucks that has to be hoping he's put last season in the rearview mirror. Between an early season concussion, the trade of his most frequent center, and uncertainty over his own future in Vancouver. Boeser clearly had plenty on his plate last season, which explains to some degree his drop from a career-high 40 goals to 225. While many of the distractions have disappeared, the 28-year-old still has much to prove about his ability to be an elite finisher for this hockey club. The 40-goal campaign in 2023-24 may prove to be an outlier, but there's no reason Boeser can't be a 30-goal guy for the Canucks. And in fact, the team likely needs him to reach that threshold for it to be competitive in the Pacific Division as well as the Western Conference. Perhaps the biggest question surrounding Boeser is who he'll play with next season. A fixture on JT Miller's wing for the past few seasons, Boeser is likely to find himself on the right wing with Elias Pettersson. Feels like those two who have spent time together in the past have to find a way to make things work again, because on the surface, Boeser does not appear to be a fit with Filip Chytil. In 87 minutes at 5-on-5 with Boeser and Chytil together last season, the Canucks did not generate a goal and gave up a pair. It's a small sample, but the two play very different styles. There really wasn't much to suggest a long-term fit. So Boeser and Pettersson will likely skate with Jake DeBrusk, or possibly Niels Höglander, or even Evander Kane, what will amount to be the team's top line. They'll likely see the toughest matchups and best defenders that opponents have to offer. That will present a severe challenge for Boeser to regain the scoring touch he displayed 2 seasons ago. Any success will likely start with increased shot volume. Although Boeser has evolved as a player through the years, he still has the ability to be a one-shot scorer. But last season, he registered just 149 shots on goal compared to the 204 the year before. His shooting percentage in each of the past 2 seasons were 19.6% and 17.2%, has eclipsed his career average of 14.1%. So he has benefited from some bounces in the past 2 seasons, even if his modest total of 25 goals last season may not reflect it. Of those 25 goals, Boeser scored 9 on the power play and 15 times on home ice. However, overall at even strength, the Canucks were outscored by 19 last season with Boeser on the ice, and unfortunately for him, he was a team worst minus 25 on the season with no teammate within 10 of that mark. As a frontline player, Boeser needs to carry a positive goal differential if this team is going to push for a playoff spot. So let's take a look at what exceeding expectations look like for Brock Boeser. Brock Boeser will exceed expectations next season if he scores 35 goals and registers more than 65 points. To do that, he will need to reestablish some chemistry with Elias Pettersson. Canucks likely need Boeser to be a double-digit goal scorer on the power play. If he can do all of those things, it stands to help the Canucks push for a playoff spot. Getting this team beyond the first round of the playoffs for the second time in 3 years would also exceed early expectations. Let's take a look at what meeting expectations look like for Brock Boeser. Brock Boeser will meet expectations if he reaches the 30-goal mark for the second time in his career and finds a way to produce 60 points. He admitted it was a difficult adjustment to life without JT Miller, and it showed in his play late in the season. But Miller is no longer here, and that is Boeser's reality now. He can't lean on that as a crutch. He's being paid to be a high-end producer, and the Canucks need him to live up to those standards. In order for Boeser's season to meet expectations, the Canucks have to find their way back to the postseason. Now let's dive into what would be Brock Boeser not living up to expectations. Anything less than 30 goals will be a disappointing season for Brock Boeser. There's no other way to look at it. He should push to lead the team in goals, but ultimately where he finishes in team ranking isn't all that important. It's a bottom line business, and the Canucks need Brock Boeser to be one of their top goal scorers. Now, more than 10 years in the organization, since being drafted in 2015, Boeser has been part of the group that has changed the course of this organization over the past decade. Missing the playoffs yet again would also amount to a massive disappointment. Through the years, Brock Boeser has found a way to grow his game from a one-time shooting threat to more of a savvy net front presence with impeccable timing for screening goaltenders. Boeser will need to use everything in his toolbox next season to get back to being the goal-scoring danger this team needs him to be. Hopefully, he'll arrive back in town in a good frame of mind and with contract certainty that will allow him to be the type of leader that the Vancouver Canucks need him to be. So, those are the goals and expectations for Brock Boeser, as outlined by Jeff Patterson. Question is now for you, the Canucks fans. We all heard what J-Pat, in his opinion, his goals and expectations. Basically, when it comes to exceeding expectations, Jeff Patterson mentioned 35 goals, and he mentioned meeting expectations, Brock Boeser hitting at least 30. And then, of course, not hitting 30 would be below expectations, when it comes to JPAD. When it comes to me personally, exceeding expectations is around the same. I agree with JPAD on that. At least, 35 plus. Maybe I'll go 37 goals for me, or just under 40 would be exceeding expectations for me personally. When it comes to meeting expectations, I would have to say 30 plus, or at least between 30 and 35 goals would be meeting expectations for me, at least goal-wise. Point-wise, it would have to be, I'm going to say between 60 and 65 points would be meeting expectations for me. When it comes to exceeding, it would be, 70 or 70 plus would be for me for exceeding expectations. And then not meeting, or rather below expectations, for me would be a similar season to what he had last season, around the 50-point mark. But I want to know what you guys think. What would you consider exceeding expectations for Brock Boeser? Feel free to post in the comment section down below. What would you see as meeting expectations, as well as what would you see as below expectations? Go ahead, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find and interact with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Van. You can find us on TikTok at the TLC Podcast. You can also find us on Blue Sky at The Line Change. And feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcast. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. But that's going to do it for this video in our goals and expectations series. I have a few more coming out, so stay tuned for that. And as always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.